Hello, welcome to a new lesson. Now I'm going to teach you about the lights on After Effects. Alright, first let's set up our layout. I'm going to bring our character here. Let me make it a little bigger. And I'm going to place it here on the middle of the screen. Of course, this layer will be 3D. You can see that it's 3D. It has the 3 axes. And now I'm going to create a new shape layer. And on this shape layer, I'm going to create a rectangle like this. I'm going to place it beneath the character, and this will be a 3D shape layer. Now, with the shape layer selected, let's open our transform properties, and we're going to move this on our X rotation so that it's like a floor. We're going to set it to 90 degrees. Now let's move this on our Z axis and let's place it here on this part. Now let's change our active camera view to custom view. Now we can see that the character is very far away from our rectangle, so we have to change that. Let's move the rectangle on the Y axis like this. We can change a little the size of the rectangle. Now we have to move it on the Z axis because now we're shopping the character foot. Alright, like this. Alright, now what I did here is I just created a floor for our character. If you take a look at the active camera, you can see that now our character is standing on sort of a floor. The advantage of creating a shape layer on 3D is that you can move it, of course, on any axis that you want. So we can create some sort of floor for our character. Now you can change the size of it as you want. If you want it to be like this, just go again to our custom view and make sure that our character is right on the middle. Perfect. Now we can take both of them and with the down arrow key, just place it here so that it looks more like a floor. Now we're going to create a new layer, a solid layer, and let's make it this color. This is like a really pale yellow. Click OK and place this yellow solid beneath all of them, because otherwise they will be covered by the solid. Place it here so we have sort of a background. Now let's create a light. A light is created just like any other layer. If you go to layer, new, you can see that we have the light here, the light option. Now let's click on this and we can rename the light as we want. We can rename it as test light, and we can choose a different options. We have the light type, we have the spot, parallel, point, and ambient. Let's set it to a spot right now. We can change the light color if we want it to be white, or we want it to be maybe sort of a bluish, or maybe sort of red. Let's leave it on white right now. We can change the intensity. Right now it's on 100. We can change the angles, the feather, the fall off, and we can change if we want the light to cast shadows or we don't want to cast shadows. Probably we will want to cast shadows because I want to see how the light affects the other objects. So let's click on OK, and you can see that this changes a lot. Right now the shape layer, the floor, is really dark because the light is pointing right at the character. Now you can see that we have this circle here with this little node, which is the light itself. This one is the light, and this anchor point, you can see that this is changing. This is pointing right at the character. This is the point of interest. Now if we take a look at the custom view, we can change how the light acts. You can see that it's sort of a cone. Here we have a circle and we have lights pointing directly to the light. Now as it is as a spotlight, it's becoming like a cone. So if we move this, you can see that we're moving the light, of course, and if we take it farther, we can see more light hitting the shape. If you move closer, everything will be dark but the character. So let's set it to this point so that we have a nice lighting here. And now we have the test light layer here. You can see that we have a light bulb here, and of course this has all the settings. We have the transform settings, in which we can change the position, the point of interest. The point of interest is this light, this little point right here, and this tells us where the light will be pointing at. So right now it's pointing to the floor directly. If we move it here, it's pointing to the sky. And let's change this to 2 views. Alright, you can see how it looks. Let's set it pointing here to the character so that it makes sense. We can change the position. We can change the orientation. Take a look at here how it acts on the character. If we point it to this part, you can see just a little bit of the character. Everything else will be dark. So let's set it to here, to the middle, and of course we can change the rotation on the 3 axes. And then we have the light options, where we can change if it is a spotlight, if it is a parallel light, a point light, or if it is an ambient light, which covers all of our composition. A spot is my preferred one because you can make sure that the light is pointing directly at wherever you want it to point. If we increase the intensity, of course, everything will be really bright, and we can lower the intensity so that everything is really dark. We can change the light color. Right now it's white. If we move it to something like this, you can see how it acts on the character. Let's leave it on white. We have the cone angle, and this cone angle, you can see how the cone is really getting really small or getting really wide so that it covers more ground. Now it's covering almost the entire shape layer, but if we point it to less angle, they will cover only just a bit. Let's leave it on 90 degrees. We can change the cone feather so that it diffuses the edges a lot more. You can see how the edges are really diffused right here, and if we hit on 0, they are sharper. You can see that the light is just like shopping here. Here is a really light, and here is dark. So of course we want a smooth effect of 100. This is the ideal part here, and we can tell the light to cast shadows and the darkness of the shadow. But of course right now we are not seeing any shadows because we have to go to our character you can see that the character, besides the transform settings, it has also the material options. Now on the material options, we can change how the light affects this character, this layer. So if I hit on cast shadows, now this object will cast shadows over this shape layer. Alright, now we can change if this object accepts shadows. Right now it's on, because if you go to the shape layer, it also have the material options, and we can say that this shape layer doesn't accept shadows. So if it is on off, you can see that there is no shadows anymore, because this shape is not accepting any shadows from any layer. If it is on, it will accept the shadow that this layer is bringing. It can also change the accept lights, and of course if it is on off, it won't be affected by any of the lights that we put on. And of course this light can be animated just like everything else. We can change the position, and let's maybe animate the position here, create a keyframe, and then here we're going to change the position, maybe like this, and then we copy this keyframe and back to square one, and when we hit play, you can see how it animates. It goes from here, goes up, and goes down again. Let's remove these keyframes, and now we're going to animate this character position, create a keyframe, and on this part it will move to this point over here, and then back to a square one. Now let's hit play. Okay, let's hit play, and you can see how cool it looks. It's really accurate, it's very realistic the way that the lights affect on the objects. So this is really nice. This is a nice feature that After Effects has. Now that's it for this section. Now let's go to the final lesson of this section, so that we can create the practice where we will put into work all the things that we have learned in this section. So let's go.